10 years ago, I was just a kid with a dream, a phone camera, and zero clue about what I was doing. Today, I built a life I once couldn't even imagine. But let me tell you, this journey wasn't always a straight line. Every year brought a new lesson, a new failure, and a new version of myself. From working dead-end jobs to even building a business, from struggling with self-doubt to becoming somebody that people actually look up to. I'm about to break down every single year of my 10-year journey. The highs, the lows, and the moments that even almost made me quit. And trust me, some of these stories you won't even believe. So grab a seat because this isn't just my story, it might change the way that you actually see your own. Now it all starts with the year 2014. This was the year that I actually left high school, I stepped into college, and honestly I felt like I had a blank slate. I was ready to leave behind the shy, inexperienced kid and build a brand new identity. But to be honest, I had no clue what I was doing whatsoever, especially when it came to dating, confidence, or even navigating everyday life. I even remember the first week at campus, I didn't even have a car. So every evening I walked 20 minutes, rain or shine, to the gym just so I could work out. And honestly, at this point, it wasn't even about getting big or building muscle. It was about proving to myself that I could just commit to something every single day. That walk, those workouts, they were like little promises I was keeping to myself every single day. Also around that time, which many of you guys know, I joined the Air Force ROTC program. And at first, I just wanted to find a sense of community and maybe even securing some kind of future stability after college. But ROTC introduced me to something I had never expected, a style of training that would literally change my life. And you guys know it, calisthenics. Now, at first, I was just trying to max out my PT test, max out the push-ups, but it slowly turned into an obsession. I was seeing progress, I was feeling stronger, and something clicked to me. I thought, why not document this? I was already documenting some things I was doing, but it was a new passion. So I started sharing my calisthenics journey on YouTube. I wasn't serious about it at first. It was just me, my phone that you see right here, this Note 4, and some basic tutorials. But here's the crazy part. This random YouTube thing and the structure of ROTC started giving me something that I didn't even realize that I needed to have, and that was purpose. For the first time in my life, I literally felt like I was building something. It wasn't perfect, no, and I was still figuring things out, but 2014 laid the foundation for everything that came after. And looking back now, I can honestly say those long walks to the gym, those pull-ups in the ROTC training yard, and those first awkward YouTube videos, they were the start of a story that I'm still writing today. So that was 2014. Now let me tell you what happened next. 2015 was one of those years where everything felt like it was happening at once. I was still sharing my fitness journey on YouTube, posting workout tips and updates. And man, honestly, if one of my videos hit 1,000 views for the week, I felt like I was famous. I'm not even joking. Back then, that number felt like it was everything to me. But it wasn't just online where people started taking notice. In ROTC, my fitness progress was simply undeniable. I've progressed insanely fast. And I started maxing out my PT test, which was initially my goal. And cadets around me began asking for advice. Even the commander started to notice me. And that gave me a little bit of confidence I've never felt before. I was becoming the fitness guy in the ROTC group, someone that people actually looked up to. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I actually met my first real girlfriend. We met at a party, and at the time, she felt like my dream girl. Whatever I envisioned myself to date, trust me, it wasn't her. Like, I literally couldn't believe somebody like her would be into me. Everything just felt so perfect, so easy, and for a while, it literally felt like I was living in a movie. Not to mention the music back in 2015, just the vibes of 2015 overall, it was amazing. But then came a really tough moment, and it was this one math class, calculus to be exact, which I was taking at such a young age, I thought. And needless to say, I was overwhelmed, I was stressed out. And for the first time, I seriously considered dropping out of college and just enlisting in the military. You know, I already kind of built my base up. I was like, okay, I don't need this college thing, because I knew I was going to fail the class anyway and probably get kicked out of ROTC. So I was ready to just throw in the towel and just give up. But then one night I came across this random motivational YouTube video. It just popped up on my home screen and I decided to watch it. I literally don't even remember who was speaking, but the words hit me so deep. It felt like they were literally talking directly to me. I'm not even joking. After that video, I locked myself in my dorm room for 10 hours straight. No distractions, no breaks, just me, my calculus book, and just pure determination. And somehow, I ended up passing the class and getting the highest final exam score of all the students in the whole entire curriculum. And so after that, that moment in itself really told me something about myself and showed me something that I've never seen before. And that was when I was pushed to the edge, if I dig deep, I actually can make it through. Literally everything's in the power of the mind. Now, of course, I was pretty excited and I was pumped up for the summer. And that summer, I worked my last real job ever, and that was at the Home Depot. Every morning, Monday through Friday, I clock in at 7 a.m. and I work till around 2 p.m. Now, let me tell you, stacking lumber and pushing carts in the Florida heat isn't what I necessarily envisioned for myself, but I was just happy to make a few hundred extra dollars a week. But you know, looking back, 2015 was the year that I realized two things. One, I was capable of more than I ever gave myself credit for. And two, I was starting to build something on YouTube, in ROTC, and also just within myself. I didn't know it yet, but this was the year that the foundation really started to solidify. Now that was 2015, and trust me, the next chapter gets even crazier. So by 2016, I've been grinding on YouTube for now 2 years. No viral moments, no overnight success, just pure consistency. But one random day, I was sitting bored in my dorm room. I decided to film a quick video, and this video was titled 5-Minute Home Push-Up Workout. No crazy setup, no deep strategy. I was just bored. And somehow that video just blew up. Suddenly I was making $1,000, sometimes even $2,000 a month from YouTube alone. For a broke college kid, that felt like I was literally winning the lottery. But the real surprise came from my inbox. Hundreds of people started asking me every single week to create custom workout programs for them. I charge anywhere from $20 to $25 per workout. And at first, of course, it was really exciting. But then, as with anything that comes with a lot of volume, I started to get overwhelmed. Like I literally couldn't keep up. Now that's when I had another great idea. Instead of writing every single plan individually, why not create one master program that could help everybody? And that's how the Bodyweight Bodybuilder was born. I still remember scripting out every single tutorial, writing detailed workout guides, and planning every single move. Now remember my girlfriend at the time, the one I mentioned earlier, she was supposed to help me with all of this, help me film, help me plan, but we actually ended up hitting a rough patch. And in that moment, I realized that I couldn't rely on anyone except for myself. No help from her, no help from friends, just me, my tripod, and my vision. So I set up my camera, press record, and just remind myself in that moment, this will all be worth it one day. I will always tell myself that. And man, let me tell you, it definitely was. A few months later after launching the Bodyweight Bodybuilder, my income jumped from $1,000 to $2,000 a month to over $8,000 a month. At just 21 years old, I had my first six-figure year. I was finally able to start investing back into myself, and I actually bought my first real camera and said goodbye to the Galaxy Note 4. Honestly, this is where it felt like a turning point. All those hours of grinding in my dorm room were finally paying off. And that same summer, I was actually selected to go to field training. Now, field training, think of it like a RTC version of boot camp. It's super competitive and not everybody makes the cut. And at the time, I still fully believe I was on the path to becoming an officer in the Air Force. Now, the social media thing with YouTube, it still felt like a side hustle, like a lucky accident almost, not actually like a real career path in this moment. But looking back now, 2016 was the year everything started to click. The passion, the grind, the moments of self-doubt, they all came together in ways I couldn't have even planned. And the craziest part, this was just the beginning. All right, now 2017, man, this year felt like I was literally on top of the world. I had just hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, literally 100,000 people on a platform I started out of the boredom of my dorm room. Now, I also had just gone through my first serious fat loss cut, And let me tell you, bro, I was absolutely shredded. I was so shredded, in fact, people started throwing around steroid allegations left and right. At first, I took it as an insult, but eventually, I realized that this was a compliment, People were so shocked by my results that they literally couldn't believe that it was real. Needless to say, this boosted my confidence just a little bit. Now, soon I began to realize that I wasn't the shy, insecure kid with nothing behind his name anymore. I had status, everyone in RTC knew me and what I did. Even students on campus would literally stop me and take pictures. And every interaction just felt like proof that I was doing something right in that moment. And then something great happened once again. I bought my first car. It was a white RS Camaro. Now before that, I was driving around a 2001 Toyota Corolla. Now don't get me wrong, that Corolla, it served me well, especially in high school, but man, driving off that lot in the Camaro felt like a reward, like a symbol of all the hard work, all the hours spent filming, editing, and just grinding away on YouTube. Now I've always been a pretty modest guy when it comes to spending, but this felt like it was earned. And at this point in my life, everything was flowing perfectly. ROTC, YouTube, and college, everything was in sync. But life has this way of humbling you. And for me, that came with my first real breakup. Even with all the success, the status, the car, the compliments, I realized I still felt empty, like something was missing. I wanted somebody to share all these wins with, and that's when I dipped my toe into the world of dating apps. Now, spoiler alert, I had no clue what I was doing. I'd swipe, I send awkward messages, and eventually I just gave up. I told myself maybe this isn't for me, like most of you guys do right now. But little did I know I'd revisit this whole entire dating thing back in 2020 and actually master it. But back in 2017, I was just still figuring it out. Now, despite all the highs and lows, one thing that I actually am proud of from this year was my ability to delay gratification. Sure, I bought the car, but every other dollar I made, I saved it, and I was still living like a broke college student. And that principle, the idea of playing the long game and not just blowing money because I have it, is still something that I live by till this day. Now, 2017 was the year that I realized confidence doesn't come from how you look or what you have. It comes from what you built, what you've earned, and how you carry yourself. And at this point in my journey, I felt like I was really just getting started. So that was 2017, but buckle up because the next chapter gets even more interesting. So 2018 was transformative. My fitness channel exploded. I hit over 500,000 subscribers and my business tripled. It had taken me 3 years to get to this point. And suddenly everything that I had been working for was now paying off. I was making more money than I ever thought possible, and I had an audience that felt like my homies. Around this time, I also got a new girlfriend. Everything just felt aligned. Life was flowing, my relationship was great, and my YouTube channel, it was thriving. But despite all that, I started questioning my original purpose. You see, RTC wasn't just a side thing for me, it was literally my plan. I was contracted, I was earning a monthly stipend, and I had invested so much time and energy into becoming an Air Force officer. And after a few weeks of back and forth, conversations with myself, friends, and people I actually trusted, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. And that's when I decided to leave the RTC program. And let me tell you, the guilt, it hit me hard. RTC had given me so much. It introduced me to calisthenics, it given me structure, and in a way, it shaped me into the person who I was becoming. And without it, who knows where I'd be. But leaving wasn't as simple as walking away because I was contracted and I actually owed the government. I either had to pay back the debt or serve 2 years after graduation through enlistment. But here's the twist, it wasn't even my choice. And a few months later, before I even graduated, I got an official letter saying that I had to serve 2 years after graduation. Needless to say, I was pretty shocked, and I remember staring at that letter, realizing how much my future was still tied to this choice. And I actually ended up writing an appeal letter requesting to just pay the money back. It was just a few $1,000s. I'm like, why do I have to invest so much of my life for just a few grand? And honestly, till this day, I literally have never heard a word back. No response, no updates, literally nothing. It was like the universe sort of hit pause on that part of my life and said, Austin, you are free to go. So that's exactly what I did. Now, leaving ROTC gave me something that I haven't felt or had in years, and that was freedom. Freedom in my schedule, freedom in my choices, and freedom in my looks. I started growing out my hair, and I became obsessed with the idea of growing a beard. The problem was, at the time, only my chin hair would grow. So after some research, I turned to minoxidil and started documenting my progress. And that's when I launched my second YouTube channel, Austin Dunham Vlogs. Now, at first, it was just random vlogs. Me, my girlfriend, little updates about life, and of course, my beard progress. Now that same year, I finally graduated college. Walking across that stage felt like I was closing one chapter and opening another. It was the end of school and the start of real life. No more safety nets, no more plans laid out for me by ROTC or anybody else. And for the first time, every step was fully mine to take. 2018 was the year that I let go of a plan that was set in stone and I leaned fully into the unknown. And trust me, what came next? I couldn't have predicted it even if I tried. So 2019 was the year I stepped into what felt like my real life. I packed up and I moved to Orlando, Florida. Now you gotta understand, I spent most of my entire life in small towns. My high school had a graduating class of 100 people, and in college, our idea of fun was hitting up Walmart and the same strip of local bars every single weekend. So moving to a city like Orlando, it was like stepping into a whole new world. There was always something to do, something to see, and waking up every day with no RTC schedule, no college classes, just me, my business, and literally endless possibilities. YouTube and my fitness business were still doing great, and around this time, I met a local videographer named Okan, a dude from Turkey who would later become known as the online walking Chad. You guys have probably seen him. And this guy became my right hand when it came to content creation, and honestly, he helped elevate my videos to a whole new level, which in return helped me a ton. But while my career was thriving, my relationship, not so much. The distance between me and my girlfriend at the time started to create cracks, and eventually we broke up. Suddenly, I found myself single in a big city with no clue about how modern dating actually worked because I simply have never had to figure it out. And so I spent a lot of time alone, just trying to figure things out. And that's when I decided to revisit online dating, but this time with intention. I wasn't just swiping aimlessly, and I studied the psychology of attraction, tested frameworks, and slowly started building what would later become the foundation of Digital Romeo. But through that process, I realized something huge. At the time, I only thought being muscular was important, especially to female attraction. But then I realized your total image matters and how you present it. So I started investing heavily into my look. I'm talking about my fashion, my skincare, my sex appeal, even my teeth. I refined everything about my image, and looking back, I had no idea this journey would eventually become another business down the line. Now keep in mind, I still wasn't a ladies' man by any means, but after a few awkward dates, rejections, and of course, cringy moments, I met this one particular woman. And let me tell you, this relationship was an absolute disaster. And I'm not gonna lie, she brought out the literal worst in me. Not to mention, one night we literally got robbed at gunpoint. I'm not even joking.
I was pretty disoriented the whole time because I was drunk and everything just happened way too quickly. And then next thing I knew, got slapped in the face. And then I sat on the side of the road sobbing, worrying about my pictures from my Europe trip while you were trying to convince an Uber to take us home for free.
And you wanted to go out the next day to the same place, to the same spot.
Yeah.
So she must have been bad luck overall. But anyways, enough about her. Through all that chaos, I did learn some valuable lessons. I realized that attraction isn't enough. You have to know how to vet people properly, and you have to know how to set boundaries, maintain your frame, and recognize red flags early. This experience opened my eyes to a side of relationships I had never seen before, including the red pill. And 2019 as a whole taught me something important. No matter how well you're doing financially, if your relationships are a mess, your life will also feel like a mess. And that's why you should have goals in every single area in your life. Fitness, finance, relationships, personal growth, it all matters. And sometimes trial and error is the only way you can actually figure these things out, no matter how much information you have access to. So that was 2019, a year of growth, image refinement, and some hard-hitting lessons. But trust me, the next chapter, things start to get really interesting. So by 2020, I was used to financial success. My YouTube was thriving, my business was bringing in consistent income, and honestly, life felt good. On top of that, I had never experienced so much female attention in my life. Casual dating was my norm, and for the first time, I noticed something pretty interesting when it came to women, and that was the fact they were actually pursuing me. And it wasn't just me chasing anymore. And that shift wasn't only insightful, but trust me, it felt damn good. I had developed systems, refined my approach, and started noticing patterns in dating dynamics. And that's when another idea hit me. Why not share these insights? Now at this point, my second channel, it was just a random vlog. You know, a little bit of fitness, some life updates, nothing really structured. But now I decided to fully pivot that channel. And I started talking about dating, attraction, and everything I was learning along the way. That pivot really gave me a new sense of purpose. And as much as I love calisthenics and fitness, I was starting to feel burnt out just talking about push-ups and pull-ups all day. So sharing my dating experiences and the lessons I was learning felt fresh, exciting, and most importantly, it felt useful to other people. But then the pandemic hit. The entire world shut down. Gyms closed, people stayed home, and suddenly everybody needed a way to stay fit from their living rooms. And guess who had been building a home workout fitness brand for years? That's right, me. It was one of those moments where preparation met opportunity. You know, that's what they call luck. And at the time, my fitness channel and just business overall absolutely exploded during lockdown. In terms of numbers, those months were the best I had ever seen. Now, yes, I did get lucky, but I was ready for the moment. Now, once the world started opening back up, that's when I decided to take a trip to Miami. And that's where I saw her, a 2020 C8 Stingray Corvette. This car wasn't only beautiful, but it was literally art. I still remember vividly to this day, just walking out of the hotel, seeing it right there. And I was like, yo, is this a Ferrari? What type of Ferrari is this? And I looked on the back and it said Corvette. And I was like, yo, I have to have this, I have to. And that's when I went back to Orlando and I literally could not stop thinking about it. All I thought about was the C8 Corvette. So I started searching, and as fate would have it, I actually found one. And I kid you not, this was the only one available in Orlando at the time. And it was the perfect spec. You guys know, I like the white, black with red accents. It was perfect. And it felt like it was literally just waiting for me. Like, it, you know, I saw my name on it, everything, it was meant for me. So a week later, I actually ended up buying it. And, you know, driving that Corvette for the first time was one of the most surreal moments of my life, you know. Yeah, most guys, you'll see this with a Lamborghini, and of course this was not a Lamborghini, but at the time, it felt just as special. It was the reward for years of consistency, discipline, and showing up even when I didn't feel like it. So 2020 was a wild ride. Yes, pun intended. From pivoting my content to experiencing the most growth I'd ever seen in my business and capping it all off with one of my dream cars. But more than anything, this year taught me that success isn't just about timing or luck, but being ready when that moment comes. But this long journey, oh, trust me, my friend, it is far from over. By 2021, the world started to feel a little bit back to normal, or as normal as it could. You know, everybody was kind of wearing masks everywhere. And at the start of the year, I realized something about my C8, the one that I just glorified a few minutes ago. You know, as much as I loved it, I realized that I never drove it. It was literally just sitting there like a $100,000 piece of depreciating metal, at least from my eyes. That's what I saw it as. And so I made the tough call to sell it. Luckily, I only got out at a minor loss. Now, instead of blowing that money on something else shiny, I decided to make a decision. It was time to build another pillar of self-improvement, and that was investing. Up until this point, I had to focus so much only on cash flow, you know, money coming in and just money stacking up, but never really on how to make that money work for me, especially in the long term. It kind of reminded me of dating all over again. You know how like initial attraction gets them there, but you still gotta know how to keep them. Same exact thing with money. So I decided to go all in on financial literacy. I started reading books, taking courses, joining workshops, and watching hours of content on investing. I opened my first brokerage account and even dipped my toes a little bit, just a little bit, in Bitcoin. Now, I was still pretty skeptical, so I didn't go all in, but it was a start. Now, meanwhile, my second channel, also Dunham Vlogs, it started to catch fire, and I hit 100,000 subscribers. And honestly, this was starting to surpass my fitness channel in terms of viewership and engagement. That snowball effect I kind of experienced back in 2018, I felt like it was happening all over again, and it felt amazing. But to be honest, something else was changing too. and that something else was me. My identity started shifting, and I had always been this, well-polished, well-spoken guy with like a bit of geeky charm to me. But now I felt like I was starting to let loose a little bit. I started to become more unfiltered and more raw. And yeah, of course, this did come with criticism. But you know what? I felt like I was being more authentic. And for that reason, I was connecting to my audience a lot more. And they were relating to me a lot more. Now, also during this time, I was still casually dating, no girlfriends, nothing serious. But it was actually a bigger mission behind it now. I started my full service coaching business called Digital Romeo. Now, what started as a personal journey into just dating psychology was now a full-time gig for me, one that I knew could change lives. I was learning, testing, refining, and slowly building the systems that would become the backbone of what Digital Romeo is today. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, without even looking for it, I met somebody special once again. Now, this is one of the sweetest girls I ever met, and best part, she is still in my life today. Now, when I met her, it kind of reminded me that the best connections come from literally just not even trying, not forcing yourself, still putting yourself out there, but really just focus on becoming the best versions of yourself and then attracting what comes to you. And in that moment, I attracted her. So that was 2021, a year of evolutions, financially, emotionally, and of course, personally. I went from being the guy with the flashy Corvette to the guy with the investment portfolio. I went from being polished and safe online to being a little bit more real and raw. And I went from casually dating to realizing that true connection is about so much more than just attraction. Now, from 2022 to 2024, my mindset started to shift in a way I have never experienced before. I actually began to start thinking deeply about my future. And not just in terms of personal success, but about what I could give to others. Accomplishments stopped feeling satisfying when they were just about me. And I started picturing what it would be like to provide for other people, maybe even a future family. And that's when I fully committed to delaying gratification, which I was already doing earlier, but I wanted to invest at least 70% of my income, live modestly, and only splurge on meaningful experiences. I even didn't want to buy a new car up until I was around 30 years old. So I kept driving my Camaro, and I still drive it today. Now, this was reminding myself that true wealth isn't about what you can show, it's really about what you can build. So also throughout this time, I started taking Bitcoin a lot more seriously. And instead of dabbling, I transferred a significant portion of my net worth into it. And looking back, this was probably the best financial decision I could have ever made. It's really what allowed me to hit nearly a multiple 7-figure net worth. But the bigger lesson wasn't really about the money. It was about overcoming skepticism, because being skeptical will never lead to success. I've never seen skeptical people be successful ever. Basically, you can't win if you're too scared to play. And it's better to do some research on your own, make informed decisions, and then from there take action instead of sitting on the sidelines in fear. But even with all the success, I still hit a wall. I started facing some real mental challenges, which was not like me at all. I've always been very straight mentally, and I felt like all my success leading up to this point was because I always had a positive mental frame. But honestly, I would start to feel a little bit lost. I scroll through Instagram and I'll see people doing more than me, better cars, better businesses, better vacations, bigger wins, and comparison started eating away at my confidence, which has never happened before. I went from feeling proud of what I was building to feeling like I was honestly not doing enough. And during this phase, I started to lean heavily on marijuana, more heavily, all the time, every night. And at first, it felt harmless, just a way to slow down, relax. But over time, it began really affecting my motivation, my clarity, and just my overall drive. I felt like I was kind of stuck in the cycle, just asking myself, why am I so unhappy? At this point in time, I literally had more money than I ever had in my life, more freedom, more options, but somehow I felt emptier than I had in my earlier days when I had less money. Now, I'm not going to turn into a hippie, but that question did lead me sort of into a spiritual journey, and I started diving into books about philosophy, energy levels, and just overall the deeper why behind human fulfillment, because it truly wasn't about money. I feel like you can only say that and experience that up until you reach to that point of financial success. Up until then, you're probably not going to believe me, but truly, I realized something about happiness, and that was, it didn't come from having more. It comes from feeling aligned with what you're doing, basically your purpose, living with intention, and from serving a higher purpose that is greater than yourself. Now this journey completely changed the content that I create. I moved away from strictly calisthenics-based videos and started sharing thoughts on self-mastery, mindset, and the philosophies that have helped me navigate life. You know, it really just felt natural, like I was finally speaking from a place of truth. And so today, my mission is very simple: to give as much value to the world as possible. I'm no longer chasing views, I'm not chasing numbers, and I completely detached my ego from any external validation. I now feel completely aligned with who I am and what I'm creating. So as you see, self-improvement isn't glamorous. It's not the highlight reels you see on social media. It's not the cars, the vacations, or the milestones. It's the late nights staring at your ceiling, questioning everything. It's waking up on those days where your mind feels like it's against you, but you still show up. Nobody sees those moments, and nobody claps for you when you fight your inner battles and you actually win. But in those moments, that's where the real growth happens. And over the past decade, I've had the highs that felt untouchable, and also the lows that felt unbearable. There were days where I felt like I was literally on top of the world, and others I could barely get out of bed. But no matter what, I still showed up. I showed up for myself, for my audience, and for the person I knew I could become. Even when my mind was a mess, when the motivation was completely gone, when I felt completely lost, I still pressed record. And that's what separates those who talk about success versus those who live it. Now, success also isn't just about one moment, one success, or even one breakthrough. It's about stacking those skills over time. You see, fitness taught me discipline, ROTC taught me structure, YouTube taught me communication, and dating taught me social intelligence. Investing taught me patience, and every single one of those skills compounded into the life I have today. That's the secret. Now, please remember that everybody's success journey will be different. Some, they'll reach it fast. Some of you guys, it's gonna take years, but that's okay. Because in the end, all the paths, no matter how long or winding, it all leads to the same destination. And that is complete alignment with yourself and your purpose. And if you watch this far, I know you're somebody who is serious about growth. You want more from life, from yourself, and from the world around you. That's why I created Austin AI Coaching. This is a decade of lessons, failures, and breakthroughs, all packaged into one resource designed to guide you every step of the way. Whether it's fitness, dating, mindset, or building your personal brand, Austin AI Coaching is here to give you clarity and actionable steps. And the best part, you can start completely free. No risk, no pressure, just value. The link is right below this video. So my friend, I end off with a cheers, and here's to another 10 years of growth, lessons, and becoming the best versions of ourselves. I'll see you in the next chapter.